الله أكبر. الله أكبر. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. أستغفر الله أستغفر الله أستغفر الله. اللهم أنت السلام ومنك السلام، تباركت يا ذا الجلال والإكرام. لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، له الملك وله الحمد، لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله. لا إله إلا الله لا نعبد إلا إياه نعبد الفضل والثناء والحسن. لا إله إلا الله مخلصين الدين ولو كره الكافرون. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. Inshallah, we'll give a minute or two for the adhkar and then we'll start the session, inshallah. Jazakumullah khair. Today we will be doing Surah Qul Huwa Allahu Ahad and Qul Ya Ayyuhal Kafirun combined, inshallah. May Allah make it easy on him. Allahumma ameen. طيب, بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Excuse me, gentlemen who are in the back, if you don't mind, barakallahu fikum, either stay quietly or you can leave the place, inshallah. Brothers in the back. Brothers in the back, excuse me. Ya Rab. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد المرسلين وإمام المتقين قائد الغر المحجلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. You know, after this session I would have a neck problem. You know why? because I'll be always like this. We're unbalanced this time. If you like to come this side, please do. Otherwise, inshallah, I'll try to do my best to look to the right all the time. So Surah Qul Huwallahu Ahad and Qul Ya Ayyuhal Kafirun, both of those two surahs, we can spend days and nights to talk about them and explain them and relate them to our daily life. But they are very well connected together, and it's very difficult to start with one and leave the other one. And that's why I'm combining them together, and inshallah, most likely we will be continue about them in the next Sunday, inshallah. So let me get your attention and your minds to something that we do on a daily basis and we perhaps were not paying attention to. What is the first surah that you recite on the day if you truly follow the sunnah? What is it? Which surah you would recite first in any day if you are truly following the sunnah? Which one? Huh? No. Huh? Al-Ikhlas? No. Huh? I didn't hear. Yeah. MashaAllah. Now, you beat me. Yes, it is Surah Fatiha, but which surah comes next? Huh? Surah Kafirun. How come Surah Kafirun? Why? Fajr Sunnah. Yes, your Fajr Sunnah, the Sunnah is to recite Surah Qul Ya Al-Kafirun at the beginning. And the second rak'ah you recite what? Qul Huwallahu Ahad. Okay, so let's ask this question then. What are the last two surahs that you would recite every day if you follow the Sunnah? Same, right? Same, because in Salat al-Witr, if you pray 3 rak'ah, you will be, the Sunnah is to recite Sabbih Isma Rabbika al-A'la, and then Qul Ya Ayyuhal Kafirun, and then Qul Huwallahu Ahad. So you start your day with, of course, Fatiha is always there. We did talk about Fatiha, the most important and the most crucial and the most significant surah in the whole Quran. But those two are very unique, by the way. So you start your day with Qul Ya Al-Kafirun, Qul Huwallahu Ahad. You end your night with Qul Ya Al-Kafirun, Qul Huwallahu Ahad. I mean, isn't it a mind-provoking thing? I mean, why is that? So let me tell you 2 ahadith, and then perhaps that would connect things more, inshallah. Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam has said about Surah Qul Ya Ayyuhal Kafirun, he said, Qul Ya Ayyuhal Kafirun ta'dilu rubu' al-Quran. That Surah Qul Ya Ayyuhal Kafirun is equivalent to 1/4 of the Quran. And he did say about Surah Al-Samad that Qul Huwallahu Ahad or ta'dilu thuluth al-Quran. It's equivalent to 1/3 of the Quran. So just imagine now, do the calculation, and perhaps you can help me. How much of Quran do you recite on a daily basis if you follow only those 2 sunnahs? What you recite in Sunnat al-Fajr and what you recite in Salat al-Witr. What is it? More than the whole Quran, correct? Correct? Isn't it? Because 2 quarters and 2/3. That's more than half of the Quran, isn't it? I mean, more than the whole Quran. Okay, so it makes it even more interesting, subhanAllah, that there's something really very unique there. And in fact, if you dig deeper into the meaning, you will get even more interesting things. So, Qul Ya Ayyuhal Kafirun, very simply speaking, it starts with, say, O Muhammad, O you who disbelieve, O you the disbelievers. La a'budu ma ta'budun. I don't worship what you do. Wa la antum abiduna ma a'bud. And you do not worship what I do either. Wa la ana abidu ma abadtum. I am not going to worship what you do. Wa la antum abiduna ma a'bud. And you will not worship what I do. Lakum dinukum waliya din. To you belongs your religion, and to me belongs mine. You know what I mean, just imagine yourself every single day, you would recite this at the beginning of the day and at the end of the night. What is exactly this surah saying? Like, in a very simple thing. It means I'm different. Well, it's actually not I'm different, it's I'm special. Right? Because you're saying, I have my own religion. It's not like yours. I'm not going to worship yours, and you are not going to worship mine either. So the surah is making you look very special. And this, what applies to Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, applies to everyone who follows that, right? So what is it that makes the person special when he follows Prophet Muhammad ﷺ? It's actually what comes in Surah Qul Huwallahu Ahad, that we believe Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala al-Ahad. And let me give you one exciting thing in Arabic. So in Arabic, what is one? In Arabic, wahid. One is wahid. So it could have been, if the meaning is just one, it could have been قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ وَاحِدٌ. And it works. But it is ahad. So how is ahad different from wahid? In Arabic, ahad means one and the only one. One and the only one. That there's nothing comparable to him. Now, you can always say, we have one president in the United States, right? That's one. But is that one president the most fitting president, the most qualified president, the only one person qualified to become a president? Especially in today's time. Of course not. Even if we have the best US president throughout the history, in no time the president was the only one who can fit that position. It just happened, some election and whatnot. And that is here ahad. Ahad means the one and the only one that can fit this estate, or this position, or this rank, which is the Lord of all mankind and all what exists. قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ. And then Allah says something very unique about Him. Remember, we talked about some of the names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that cannot go to anyone else. Like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, one of His names is Al-Kareem, right? But we can always talk about a person being Kareem. Al-Kareem means the most generous. And we can say this person is generous, right? But there are certain names that cannot go to other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Among them, we did talk about it in Surah Al-Fatiha. Among them was Ar-Rahman. Ar-Rahman is the unique word to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. No one can be Rahman. You can be Rahim, but you cannot be Rahman. Rahman has the ultimate mercy to everything. I mean, you can be merciful for some, maybe in your family, maybe with the people that you deal with, but your mercy cannot span over everything that is there. But Rahman is the unique Rahmah that can span and cover everything in the universe. And on top of that, that it goes with people who are also against Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in their whole life. So the word here that is very similar to Ar-Rahman in terms of its uniqueness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is As-Samad. As-Samad. If you open any translation of the surah, you probably will see something like the self-sufficient, the self-sustaining. I mean, those words are very common in some of the translations. But as-Samad, in fact, is even a word that does not have an equivalent in other languages. As-Samad can be explained, but there is no term that gives that. I mean, yeah, you probably may find something a bit similar, but not. So what does as-samad really mean? It means, I will say it in Arabic, الذي لا يحتاج إلى أحد وكل شيء في الوجود يحتاج إليه. As-samad means the one who is not in need of anything, is independent and is not in need of anything. But at the same time, everything in this existence relies on him and needs him and depend on them. That's what as-samad is. That's why when you hear the word as-samad, you come to a feeling, very nice and happy feeling, that, oh Allah, you are the only one who can help. Because you yourself don't depend on anyone. And you are the independent who is capable of everything. SubhanAllah, I mean, let's say that you have anyone who would support you in this dunya. Regardless of what it is, they become sick, khalas. They may get to the point where they even die, and it's over. They may lose their status. They may lose their power. There might be someone else who would, destroy them. So in no way you can have anything in this life that you can depend on all the time other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. لم يلد ولم يولد. Never give birth, nor he was given. This is very interesting. Very, very interesting. Where did the Rasul ﷺ live? In Mecca and in Medina. Were there Christians there? Huh? Very, very few. Very, very few. Jews were more. Christians were less. And even Jews and Christians combined were nothing compared to others who were there. But this ayah, which talks about birth of the Creator, of the Lord, is really fitting whom? Those who claim that Jesus is the Son of Allah, which means that Allah begets or Allah gives birth. So why in a surah that perhaps everyone would recite every day, you need to talk about, or that there is this thing about the Christians, and perhaps Jews also, because they talked about Uzair ibn Allah, that we recited, despite the fact that most of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ lived in between Arabs who were neither Christian nor Jews. The ulama have said that, Wallahu alam, it's because, as he ﷺ indicated before, that over the time you would see that Muslims will be working and leading and living with primarily the Christians and Jews. And you need to be very distinct from them. You need to be special. SubhanAllah, that's part of the reason that some of the ulama have said, وَطَعَامُ الَّذِينَ أُوتُوا الْكِتَابَ حِلٌّ لَكُمْ. That the meat that the people of the book would slaughter, even though it's according to their religion, it's permissible for us to consume. And I'm sure that people always ask, is it permissible to eat the meat that goes to HEB or any other market? And frankly, we need to be very serious on this and do the right thing and say the right thing. That if we have a true Christian or a true Jew who is slaughtering a cow or slaughtering a sheep or a goat, even though they do it in their own way, they would say their own things, but they slaughter it, then that becomes permissible for us. Allah said it in the Quran. I think the problem that we have in today's time is, are those meat that are on the shelves, were they slaughtered in the first place, or they die because of you know, the shots, or because of the carbon dioxide, or whatever they make them to die for with. I'm sorry. And also, so are they being slaughtered or not? That's one thing. And also, there's another doubt, which is, are those people who are slaughtering, in case they are slaughtering, are they really Christians or Jews, or they are something else? I mean, if you go to a place like, for example, Vancouver, and perhaps some of the areas around it, many of those who work in that business are originally from China, and those are not Christians. So they are in the business of creating or getting those meat, or slaughtering meats. Let's assume they slaughter, but they themselves are not Christians. So of course there's a huge doubt there. Anyways, that's not the topic. The topic here is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is reminding us about something that makes us always distinguished about Him subhanahu wa ta'ala from all those Christians and Jews. Because we will be living with them all the time. And we will be dealing with them all the time. And out of Allah's mercy, and knowing that it will be very difficult for Muslims to live with Christians and Jews and not to eat from their meat. Some of the ulama have said that this is, wallahu alam, the reason that Allah has made them an exception from all other disbelievers when it comes to eating from their slaughtered meat, slaughtered cattle, or chicken, or whatever. So, and then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَلَمْ يَكُنْ لَهُ كُفُوًا أَحَدٌ. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has never had any equivalence, and will never. There is no equivalence to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. From the time began all the way to eternity. So it's eternity from before, eternity from after. There's nothing that can be comparable to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now just imagine again, you're declaring every single day at the beginning of your prayer, Sunnat al-Fajr, and at the end of the night, you're saying, oh, I declare, I acknowledge, I believe I'm very special. And what makes you special is your creed, is your aqidah, is your belief in your Lord subhanahu wa ta'ala. The one who is as-Samad, the one who is Ahad, not unique, the only one who befits to be the Lord. The only one who is independent of everything, while everything else is dependent on Him subhanahu wa ta'ala. The one who didn't even, who is not similar to any of His creatures. Never given birth, nor He gives birth. And the one who there is no comparable to Him. Just imagine now, really imagine now that every single day you remind yourself that in the day, and then in the dark night. What does that mean to you? It actually means your mission. You're actually reminding yourself is with your mission being to worship Allah alone. That you are created for that purpose. And you because of that, you must be very different, very special compared to those people around you who are not worshipping this Lord subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that is actually in today's time, we always see that you work for companies or wherever you work. One of the most important things that you have to know and understand and live with while working is understanding what the mission is. If you don't understand the mission of the place where you work at, then you will become of no value. I worked for Microsoft for 5 years. And very simple mission statement that I forgot the exact wording, but it was like enable every human to have a computer and the office application to enable them to perform their daily activities in a nice way, something like that. And subhanAllah, we lived with it. We truly lived with it. Every single day you need to remind yourself about your mission. Actually, there are some companies who have assembly in the early morning of their work, where they get together and they recite their mission every single day. And this is what makes people, everyone in that company, very focused, laser focused on their mission. They cannot be distracted because they always remind themselves, this is our mission. So at the time when an employee starts to do something else, they will get, this mission will get him back to track. Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam knew that people need to have something to strengthen them every single day, and also before they go to bed, that you need to remind yourself, even so that you will be satisfied with your performance over the day, or if not, then at least it reminds you so that next day you will be on track. So he ﷺ used to do it, and he used to ask or to recommend people to do that. So again, those two surahs mean to us a lot. Now, it reminds me with your mission, it reminds you of who you are and how you are special in front of everyone, and at the same time you are getting the reward of reciting them every single day, and get the reward of reciting the whole entire Quran and more. So one of the things we should remember about these is that there are other sunnahs throughout the day in which you recite Qul Huwallahu Ahad and Qul Ya Ayyuhal Kafirun. Especially Qul Huwallahu Ahad. Among them are Adhkar al-Sabah and Adhkar al-Masa, the supplication and the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that you do in the daytime and in the afternoon or evening time. Another thing is before you go to bed, there's a sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam where he sallallahu alaihi wasallam would blow in his two hands, and he would recite Qul Huwallahu Ahad, Qul A'udhu Birabbil Falaq, Qul A'udhu Birabbin Nas, and he would wipe his face and everything that his hands can reach to. There's another sunnah of reciting Qul Huwallahu Ahad after Salat al-Fajr in particular. So after all the adhkar, you recite Qul Huwallahu Ahad. So those surahs, Qul Huwallahu Ahad in particular, and Qul Ya Ayyuhal Kafirun, they mean a lot to us in every single day, because they really remind us with the purpose for which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have created us. Now, just few more things, and inshallah, I would love to have some interaction and some thoughts from you, inshallah. If we go back to Qul Ya Al-Kafirun, you would see a pattern here. لا أعبد ما تعبدون ولا أنتم عابدون ما أعبد ولا أنا عابد ما عبدتم ولا أنتم عابدون ما أعبد. Some people think that this was a repetition. It's not a repetition. Although there's one ayah that is exactly worded the same, which is ولا أنتم عابدون ما أعبد. It is mentioned twice. But the other one, لا أعبد ما تعبدون ولا أنا عابد ما عبدتم. أعبد عابد. That's the difference. The difference here is that لا أعبد ما تعبدون, it talks about all the past and current tense. عابد is what is going in the future. So what are you saying? Not only that you reaffirm how special you are, but also that you are saying that this will be my future and I'm very determined about it. SubhanAllah, how strong a Muslim would be when they really understand this Quran and they really apply the Sunnah in their lives. So for them, وَلَا أَنْتُمْ عَابِدُونَ مَا أَعْبُدُ, perhaps that's what happened in the past. But in the future, they probably may become Muslim, inshallah. And that's what we should always work or strive for, which is delivering this da'wah, this khair to everyone. So don't give up. You are determined to continue with this belief until Allah takes your soul. But you don't see others continuing on their falsehood, on their disbelief, because there's a possibility that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will make guidance through you or through other one to them. So yes, in the past until the current time, they have not been believer. But you don't know what happens in the next future. لَكُمْ دِينُكُمْ وَلِيَ دِينِ. To you belongs your religion, and to me belongs mine. Is also very interesting in the sense that you are not bothering yourself. You're not even looking into more details about their religion. Because from the very first place, there's a huge gap when it comes to the belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So if that is broken, if that is not working, then let alone anything else. It's just like, subhanAllah, just imagine. I saw many Muslims engaging in those type of dialogues. They talk about fasting. Christians have fasting. They do fast. Even today, they do fast. So they compare themselves. Akhi, you don't have to talk about this. Because that makes no value if the foundation of the faith is different. Right? Imagine someone who does not pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then you want to teach him how to make wudu. Or you want to tell him about the significance of wudu. Is there any value of doing this? The person does not pray in the first place. He's not willing to pray. Why would you even talk about wudu or ablution? You want to first make sure that he or she is willing to go for the prayer, which is the second pillar in Islam. So you don't need to waste any moment talking about anything that is just secondary to the pillar of Islam, like how to do wudu, for example. And I believe that this surah, and especially Lakum Dinukum Waliya Deen, it actually not only distinguishes you, but also it makes you feel that I need to spend most of my time that I can to understand my religion. I don't care what others are doing. I do care that Allah, inshallah, Allah will guide them, but I don't care about learning the details of their religion. Nowadays, subhanAllah, I have heard it from many Muslims, unfortunately. They tell you, we have to be educated about others, we have to learn what they do, we have to appreciate what they're doing, we have to understand them, this is coexistence, we have to, and all that kind of nonsense. You know why it's nonsense? Because with those who are saying those statements, they themselves don't know their religion. If you don't know the meaning of غَاسِقٍ إِذَا وَقَبْ, why would you encourage people to go and learn about the details of Christianity or Judaism or whatever the ism there? There's no point in it. So it's really important for all of us to understand that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has distinguished us from others, have made it very clear why you are distinguished, why you are special, and also is inviting you to explore your religion into all details. So with that said, I really would love to hear a few thoughts and maybe suggestions on how those two surahs can be applicable to our life. And I think we did talk about tafsir in action before. Tafsir in action really means that not only you understand the meaning of the surah, not only that you get what has been said about it from an Arabic perspective, from the Arabic language perspective, from the fiqh perspective, but also how can we make this applicable to our daily lives so that it improves our lives. So I would like really to hear from you, inshallah, and happy to pass this mic, inshallah, to whoever would like. And perhaps you can also ask questions if you want. So who would like to start? Jazakallah khair.
Jazakallah khair. That was beautiful. There are many things that I didn't know. Thanks. Really appreciate it. Jazakumullah khairan for sharing this. I was told whenever somebody asks, introduce Allah, the best way of introduction of Allah is Qul huwa Allahu ahad, Allahu samad, lam yalid wa lam yulad wa lam yakul lahu kufuwan ahad. Say this and walk away if you want. This is Allah. That's the best introduction of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I want to share with you.
Absolutely. Allah zikr khair. Absolutely. And by the way, so he was talking about introducing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I want us to also be capable of introducing Islam as well. You know what people say about Islam every day? They talk to Christians and Jews and non-Muslims. They say, we pray 5 times a day, we fast the month of Ramadan, and those kind of things. Well, yes, those are the part of the pillars of Islam. But what is the essence of Islam? What does the word Muslim mean? What does Islam mean in the first place? It means submission. Full, total submission to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's really where the essence is. That we know our Lord and we are fully submitting ourselves to the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we affirm that every single day. It's very sad that in many of our dialogues with others, we talk about things that perhaps are not even exciting to them. Because if you say we pray, they do pray, don't they? If you say we fast, they do fast. They have prayers and they have their fasting. If you say we have pilgrimage, some of them have their own, like the one in the Vatican or whatever they have. If you talk about your Lord subhanahu wa ta'ala first and identify what Islam or how Islam makes you different, then that's a different thing. And that's why, subhanAllah, in the long hadith that was reported in Sahih al-Bukhari, some of the Sahaba who went to Damascus, they have met with the one in charge there, and they asked him, what is it about your religion? And the first thing they said, we were people who would cheat, who would say a lie, who would kill their daughters or kill their children because of poverty, and now we got someone who is teaching us honesty, teaching us trustworthiness, teaching us truthfulness, and so on. So it actually also, that's another direction or another perspective of what Islam does to us to make us better, to make us very special. So those are the things that really, I still remember one time we had a dialogue with some interfaith, and I was talking about as-salah in the sense that inna salata tanha anil fahsha'i wal munkar, that it prevents the person from committing any evil or anything that is wrong or non-decency. And wallahi, I still remember there was a priest next to me, and he said, if we all practice that, then perhaps we don't even need to have a police or law enforcement, because you are behaving yourself in the best way possible for a human. Okay, what else?
Assalamu alaikum. I have two questions, Sheikh Abdul Rahman. Allah yazik khair.
I'm sorry.
First question.
I hear your voice from the,
on the mic.
speaker.
First question in Surah Ya ayyuhal kafirun wa la antum aabiduna ma a'bud. It was repeated twice. Is this for a specific group of people like kafirun at the time of Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Because it's talking about the future, right? Because we know Allah yahdi man yasha. Another question I have in the beginning of Surah Qul huwa Allahu ahad, Allah says Qul huwa, like first two words here. What does that mean? Because it seems like an tawqeed, it's not like other ayahs where maybe Allahu la ilaha illa huwa al-hayy al-qayyum. There is no like قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا هُوَ. But here there is قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ. What does it mean, first two words in the surah? Jazakumullah khairan.
Barakallah fikum. For the first question, Barakallah fik, al-kafirun is generic. So anyone who is disbeliever falls under this description. And of course, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said it in multiple places, وَمَا أَكْثَرُ النَّاسِ وَلَوْ حَرَصْتَ بِمُؤْمِنِينَ, that the vast majority of people will not become believers even despite all your attempts. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَإِن تُطِعْ أَكْثَرَ مَنْ فِي الْأَرْضِ يُضِلُّكَ عَنْ سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ, that if you were to obey or listen to the vast majority of people, they will take you astray from the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَمَا يُؤْمِنُ أَكْثَرُهُمْ بِاللَّهِ إِلَّا وَهُمْ مُشْرِكُونَ. Most of them, even if they believe in Allah, they would associate partners with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So of course, yes, al-kafirun, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows that they will be the vast majority of people. The second one, subhanAllah, if you do research, like in today's time, modern science, let's say you want to affirm certain conclusion that's happening because of some empirical research that you do, or whatever the research. You cannot start with affirming. You have to start with some speculation. You would say, for example, you will say, actually you would deny, like for example, when you talk about Allah in philosophy, in this modern time, you need to first assume that Allah is not there, and then prove that Allah is there, right? If you want to assert anything, you have to start with conjecture, and then you move more with some more certainty all the way until you give your assertion. However, in Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala starts saying with affirmation, like for example, قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also said about the prophets, when they go to the people, how do they start? They would say, "U'budullah," worship Allah. "U'budullah ma lakum min ilahin ghayruh." You don't have any Lord other than Him, subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that actually tells us a very important thing, which is we cannot introduce Islam to people with doubt. You just cannot. Islam comes very strong from the very early first statement that you talk about it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the Lord and the only Lord. You just cannot say, okay, let's talk about it, let's discuss. And then you make some assumptions and whatnot until you become more assertive. Jazakallah khair. Okay. Anything else, inshallah?
Assalamu alaikum. Jazakallah khair for the khatira. I hadn't thought about it in a manner that way you have described it before, where from in the beginning and also at the end, it's a good summary for Muslims, especially for us here in America, that to know that what is our aim, goal, or what's our purpose as Muslims, and to be proud of it, because a lot of times people are shy, hiding their religion. And also, I think it's good to kind of point it towards the kids and your children of their own motive in terms of, because the next generation and the generation after, they should know better of how important their religion is, their values are. And this kind of summarizes both to be proud in Surah Kafirun of that you're special and what your religion is, and to make sure you know, and so from Ikhlas as well.
MashaAllah. Very, very nice summary. Jazakallah khair. Excellent. Any
MashaAllah, thank you, Sheikh. It was very enlightening. So one of the questions I had was that in terms of dawah, you mentioned, I know Rasulullah ﷺ, he sent Mu'adh bin Jabal to Yemen, right? And he said to him, Mu'adh, tell them about the oneness of Allah first. When they understand the oneness of Allah, then tell them it's obligatory that they pray 5 times a day, every day. So the bit that we tell them about the oneness of Allah, and then we should be patient in seeing that they can try and understand that. And when we know that they understand that, then we can proceed to, next thing, which is talking about salat and stuff like that. So, mashallah, I think you touched on it a little bit. And now, further with this aspect, I just felt that we do have some differences in the Muslims groups. There are some groups of Muslims that only go to the Muslims to do da'wah. So what's your opinion on that compared to where us and more mainstream generally tend to say, well, we can go to other people, not just the Muslims, and the approach to that. So maybe inshallah you can make a comment about that.
Yeah, barakallah fikum. And indeed, when he sallam has sent Mu'adh ibn Jabal, he said, start with them on the Tawheed, on the creed, of course. And that actually is a practical example of how da'wah goes. I mean, these times, unfortunately, well, maybe it is fine to invite people to like arts and learning about culture. If that's the only one way that you can talk to them, okay, let it be. Or just to start some conversation. But you need to be very, very focused on the big rocks when you talk to others. Don't just look at those tiny, small stones around the rock and then you think that you did what you need to do. Now, about the other thing, barakallah fikum, even in the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Sahaba were not doing everything the same. There were specializations, right? Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. You would see that, for example, Zayd ibn Thabit, Ubay ibn Ka'b were very specialized in the Quran. Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, similarly. You would see someone like Abu Huraira, radiallahu anhu, Abdullah ibn Umar, Ibn Abbas, were very specialized in hadith, in the science of hadith. Khalid ibn al-Walid was very specialized in leading the armies, right? In all that aspect of being strong in their existence and defend Islam and Muslims. So I understand that there are people who devote themselves to call Muslims to the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if they are good at it, let it be. We need some specialization. People who are more equipped to deal with Muslims, let them do it. Those people who are more equipped to deal with non-Muslims, and they understand, for example, the way how they can interact with them, or how what their belief that they can start talking about and poking around, then of course let it be. And that's how we complement each other. That's how the Muslims can really cover the whole area of da'wah, but in a way that makes it more efficient and more practical, inshallah. However, I would like to say that you should never underestimate what it means for you to behave Islamically and to be with your best shape of representation of Islam in front of your neighbors, in front of your workmates, study mates, anyone that you deal with. And if a person is just not paying attention to that, and all what they care about is just, go to the Muslims and visit them at their homes, or inviting them to the prayer and whatnot, then that's where it becomes wrong. I mean, you have to be someone, if you are doing da'wah, then that da'wah should not be limited to anyone. Through your example, through your behavior, through the nice smile that you give to your neighbors, through protecting your neighbors from anything that annoys them. I mean, subhanAllah, we sometimes hear or see our neighbors playing music at a very, very loud thing. And perhaps everyone who has lived in an apartment before, you also hear that you hear people above you as they walk, as they make things loud, especially if there's no isolation between the different apartments. And we always get annoyed with this. Can we be the person? Can we be the people who are doing this to others? Of course, that is part of how da'wah is. That you tell people, you show people who you are as a believer, and how you behave. I want to just give you an example to this. One of our pious predecessors has gone through some poverty. And he was no more able to afford where he was living. So he decided to move. When his neighbor knew about this, he said, Wallahi, there's no way I can get a better neighbor than you. You would stay and I will help you with your financial support. And that actually happens, I mean, very widely speaking to people who are representing Islam in every aspect of their lives. So I just want to second what he is saying, that even if you think that you are more capable and more practical for you to work only with Muslims, you have to be a da'iyah for all people who see you, for at least on your own personal life. Inshallah. Okay, any last thing, inshallah, before we conclude? جزاكم الله كل خير. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. صلى الله على محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. جزاكم الله خير.